A spouse tried to trap me into legal responsibility for a baby that was not mine, and I had to prove the fraud before it wrecked my life. The police station lobby was too bright for 10 p.m. The air smelled like wet coats and old floor wax. A vending machine hummed in the corner like it was the only calm thing in the room. I kept turning a spare key ring in my fingers, the red tag rubbing my thumb raw. A woman behind me said, "Mark, please stop." I did not turn around when I answered. "I am not stopping. My name is Mark Reed, and I'm 36. I work as an IT support tech and I see life through a firewall lens." 3 weeks earlier, I still thought my biggest problem was a broken printer in the finance office. Jenna and I had been married 9 years. We lived in a rented townhouse on the edge of Columbus, Ohio. It was not fancy, but it was ours. We had a small fenced yard, a gray couch we bought on sale, and a dog named Moose who thought every visitor was his best friend. Jenna worked for a small real estate office. I worked for a regional grocery company that had a warehouse and a corporate building. Most days, my job was boring in the best way. People forgot passwords. Their email would not send. A computer froze. I fixed it. I liked that kind of problem because it had a clear answer. At home, things had started to feel less clear. The slow pressure began in a quiet way. Jenna got more sharp with me about small things. If I asked how her day was, she would say, "It was fine," like the words tasted bad. If I mentioned money, she would look away and say, "We are okay," then change the subject fast. The first small wrong thing happened on a Tuesday. I got a text from our landlord, Calvin Brooks. He owned a few properties in our area. He was friendly in that smooth way some people are. His text said our rent payment failed. That made no sense. We had autopay set up and it had worked for years. I logged into our bank app. The rent money was gone, but it had not gone to Calvin. It had gone to a new account name I did not recognize. It was only one letter off from his company name, like someone wanted it to look right at a glance. When I asked Jenna about it, she did not look surprised. She sighed like I was making her tired. "I took care of it," she said. "Took care of what?" I asked. She rubbed her forehead. "Calvin changed his payment system. He told me. I set it up." "You set it up without telling me?" I asked. Jenna's eyes flashed. "You want a meeting for every click I make?" That line stung, not because it was loud, but because it was so cold. It made my skin feel tight. That night, my sister Lily called. Lily had always been the person who said hard truths with a soft voice. I told her about the rent mix-up and Jenna's mood. I tried to laugh it off. Lily did not laugh. She said one sentence that stuck like a splinter. "You keep handing out admin access to someone who does not treat your life like it matters." I sat on the edge of my bed after that call, staring at the dark window. The streetlight outside made the glass look like a sheet of dirty gold. Moose snored on the rug. Jenna was already asleep, turned away from me. I told myself it was stress. I told myself it would pass. 2 days later, the real crack opened. I came home to find a thick envelope on the counter. It was from my employer's benefits provider. The paper smelled like fresh ink and glue. Jenna was not in the kitchen. Moose was pacing, nails clicking on the tile. I opened the envelope. Inside was a dependent coverage change confirmation. It said I had added an unborn child to my health plan. It listed a due month. It listed a father acknowledgement with my name typed beside an electronic signature mark. The timestamp was 2017 a.m. I stared at it until the letters blurred. Jenna and I did not have kids. Jenna had never told me she was pregnant. I had not added anything to my benefits at 2:17 a.m. I was asleep. I knew that because I had been up at 6 a.m. the next day fixing a warehouse tablet that got run over by a forklift. My hands went cold. When Jenna walked in, she stopped short when she saw the papers in my hand. Her face changed fast, like someone flipping a switch. "Why are you opening my mail?" she snapped. "It is addressed to me," I said, and my voice surprised me because it was calm. "Why does my job think we are having a baby?" Jenna's eyes darted to the side. Her throat bobbed once. She said, "It is complicated." That was when I knew. Not guessed. Knew. Because people who tell the truth do not start with, "It is complicated." That night, I did not yell. I did not cry. I did not beg for a story. I went into the spare room, sat at the small desk, and opened my laptop. If my life was being rewritten, I needed logs. The next morning, my first step was simple. I changed passwords. All of them. Email, banking, benefits, phone account, cloud storage. I kicked off every device I did not recognize. I turned on two-step codes. I removed Jenna as a recovery contact. It felt mean for about 5 seconds. Then, it felt smart. By lunchtime, I started looking for proof in the only order my brain could handle. First, location. Our car had an easy pass account for toll roads. I logged into it, mostly to steady my hands with something concrete. The trip history came up in a neat list. There were toll trips at times. Jenna told me she was working late. Trips that ran across the river and back, always after 9 p.m. The exit points lined up with a small business park and a row of warehouses. I knew that area. Calvin Brooks had an office there. I had been there once to sign our first lease. The place smelled like cheap cologne and air freshener. Calvin had shaken my hand too hard and called me, buddy. I pulled up a map. The toll exit was 5 minutes from his office. My stomach turned in a slow, ugly way. That evening, I found the key ring. Jenna had left her purse on the couch. I did not dig through it like a thief. I just looked where anyone would look to find her keys if she asked for them. There was a new key on her ring. It had a red plastic tag, like the kind used for storage units or spare building keys. The tag had a number printed on it in black. I had never seen it before. I held it for a second. It was warm from being in her purse. It smelled faintly like her lotion. I put it back exactly how I found it. Second, communication. That night, Jenna called someone from the garage. I was in the kitchen, rinsing a coffee mug, when I heard her voice through the thin door. It was low and fast. Not the voice she used with her friends. Not the voice she used with her mother. I opened my phone and recorded the last seconds. Not because I wanted drama, but because I was tired of being told I imagined things. Jenna said, I already submitted it. He cannot see the details if we keep him calm. Then she said, Calvin, you promised. There was a pause. Then she said, no, I am not backing out. I need this covered. She came inside right after that and smiled too wide. Everything okay? I asked. Fine, she said, and her eyes slid away from mine. I saved the audio. I labeled it with the date and time. Third, money. 2 days later, the money proof walked right into my inbox. My bank sends a new wire transfer scheduled alert from our joint savings account. I had set alerts years ago. Jenna used to tease me for it. The wire transfer was for $2,400. The recipient name was Brooks Property Services. The memo line said deposit. My hand shook so hard I had to set the phone down. A deposit for what? We already lived here. Our deposit was paid years ago. Unless Jenna was paying a deposit for something else. Something she did not want to show up as rent because rent would lead to questions. I called the bank and canceled the wire. The customer service rep asked if I wanted to report it as unauthorized. I said yes. It felt like stepping onto ice that might break, but I did it anyway. That night, I could not sit with my thoughts, so I reached out to someone who would not panic. A guy named Pete Lawson used to manage IT at my company before he retired. Pete was calm in a way I admired. He had a voice like sandpaper and a mind like a filing cabinet. I met him at a late-night diner off the highway. The place smelled like fried onions and sweet coffee. The booths were cracked vinyl. A neon sign buzzed in the window. Pete listened while I explained the benefits letter, the toll records, the key tag, the garage call, and the wire transfer. He did not interrupt. He just stirred his coffee slowly. When I finished, he said, "You are not dealing with a mistake. You are dealing with a person who learned your system." I swallowed. "What do I do?" Pete pointed at me with his spoon. "You do what you do at work. You pull the logs. You lock down access. You report it through the right channel. And you stop trying to talk your way out of someone else's plan." I nodded, and for the first time in days, my chest loosened a little. Near the end of that week, I got the killer receipt. I logged into my benefits portal again. and found the account activity page buried under 2 menus. It showed recent logins. There were logins from my phone. There were logins from my laptop, and there were logins from a device I did not recognize, from an IP address that matched the business park where Calvin's office sat. The timestamps matched the 2017 AM signature. It was not a guess anymore. It was a map with a pin in it. I exported the login history and downloaded the full activity report. I saved it to a small USB drive I kept in my desk drawer. It was plain black with a little silver loop. I wrote benefits logs on a strip of tape and stuck it on the side. Then I did the mid-act official step Pete told me to do. I filed an internal fraud report with my company's benefits team. I attached the login report. I attached the wire transfer alert. I explained that an enrollment change had been made without my consent. The benefits manager replied within an hour. Her email was short and serious. Do not discuss this with anyone until we review. We will schedule a meeting. That same night, I did the calm confrontation. Not a trap, not a stunt, just a straight line. I asked Jenna to meet me at our bank branch right after closing time. The manager there knew me by name. The lobby smelled like carpet cleaner and printer toner. Jenna showed up angry. What is this about? She demanded. I set 3 things on the desk, in order, like laying out tools before a repair. First, the toll report printout. Second, the audio clip on my phone paused and ready. Third, the canceled wire transfer notice. Jenna's eyes flicked over the papers. Why are you tracking me? She said, loud enough that the manager looked up. I am not tracking you, I said, still calm. I am reading our accounts. Why are you adding a baby to my insurance without telling me? Jenna's face went pale for 1 second, then hardened. You are trying to control me, she said. This is why I cannot breathe around you. I felt a familiar chill. Not fear. Recognition. It was the same move every time. Turn the spotlight away. Make me the problem. I tapped the phone screen and played the audio from the garage. Jenna's voice filled the bank office, soft but clear. I already submitted it. Jenna's mouth opened, then closed. The manager cleared his throat and said, Ma'am, this is serious. Jenna whispered, Mark, please. I did not raise my voice. I said, tell me who Calvin is to you. She stared at the floor. I nodded once. That was answer enough. I gathered my papers and stood up. I am not signing anything, I said. And you are not using my name to fix your choices. I left her there, still and silent, like she had finally run out of lines. 2 days later, my company scheduled the official meeting. But it was not with HR. It was with corporate security and benefits compliance. It was in a small conference room with no windows. The air smelled like dry erase markers. The chairs were too stiff. They showed me the same login report I had exported. They had also found that my recovery email had been changed and changed back. They asked if anyone had physical access to my laptop. I told them Jenna had used it sometimes. The compliance officer's face tightened. We will remove the dependent request and flag the account. But if someone forged your signature, you should also make a police report. I did not want to. I wanted this to be over. I wanted to go home, feed Moose, and pretend my marriage was just a rough patch. But Pete's words came back. Stop trying to talk your way out of someone else's plan. So I went to the police station at 10 p.m. That is where the story began. Jenna followed me there, which I did not expect. Calvin followed her. I knew it was him the second I saw his jacket and his too white smile. He held Jenna's elbow like he owned her. That was the complication that almost broke me, because in the bright lobby, with other people watching, Jenna said, he is harassing me. He is trying to ruin my pregnancy. It was a clean lie, aimed right at my reputation, and Calvin backed her up with a calm nod, like he was a witness, not a cause. My throat went tight. My hands wanted to shake again. Instead, I reached into my pocket and felt the USB drive. A firewall is not a wall if you do not turn it on. At the front desk, I told the officer, I need to report identity fraud and forged enrollment. Jenna said, he is making things up. I looked at the officer and said, I have account logs, bank alerts, and an audio clip. The officer led us to a side desk. The room smelled like copier paper and stale breath. A fan clicked in the corner. I handed over the USB drive. I played the audio. I showed the toll report and the canceled wire. The officer's face changed. It went from bored to focused. He asked Jenna, "Did you submit an enrollment change in his name?" Jenna's voice went small. "I was trying to protect the baby." The officer asked Calvin why his office IP address was tied to the portal login. Calvin's smile slipped. "I cannot control what employees do on the internet." The officer wrote that down, very slowly. Then he said words that felt like a door locking. "Ma'am, you may want your own counsel. Sir, this report will move forward." Jenna stared at me like I had done something cruel. I did not feel cruel. I felt done. The next week, I made my permanent choice. I moved away and changed my number, not out of fear of them showing up, out of fear of my life staying tangled to theirs. I took a transfer at work to a different city 2 hours away. I found a small apartment above a quiet bookstore. It smelled like pepper and cinnamon from the cafe downstairs. Moose adjusted faster than I did. He liked the new window. I sent Jenna one final message through my lawyer, not my phone. It said there would be no more contact except through legal channels. Then I shut the door. 2 years later, a letter showed up in my mailbox. It had no return address. Inside was one page, folded tight. It said, "I never meant to hurt you." I was scared. "I hope you can forgive me." My hands did not shake this time. I threw it away without replying. A few more years passed. Work got better. I became the lead for a small IT team. I taught new hires how to set up access the right way. I stopped apologizing for basic boundaries. I also found peace in a simple routine. Morning walks with Moose. Dinner with friends who did not play games. Quiet weekends where my phone stayed face down. One summer night, I sat on the rooftop of my building with a plate of takeout and a cold drink. The air smelled like warm brick and grill smoke from somewhere below. The city lights blinked like steady signals. I thought about how I used to believe love meant trust with no limits. Now I knew better. A firewall is not about shutting the world out. It is about choosing what gets in. Here's what I learned from this, and it surprised me. I thought I would feel strong the moment I had proof. I did not. I felt tired. Proof does not erase the hurt. It just gives you a path out. I also learned that calm is not the same thing as soft. I can be calm and still say no. I can be calm and still file a report. And I can be calm and still walk away for good. I used to think leaving meant I failed at marriage. Now I think staying in a rigged story is the real failure. The hardest part was accepting that someone I loved could treat my name like a tool. Once I accepted that, the next steps were not dramatic. They were simple. Lock it down. Save the logs. Tell the truth. Then build a life that cannot be edited by someone else. If you want more stories like this, please like, subscribe, and share. It helps the channel, and it helps these stories reach the people who need them.